Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 417. 4 games with miniatures. How many of these were found on Kickstarter?
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation is brought to you by GameToppersLLC.com. Their toppers are amazing. The worst part about ordering a topper is waiting for it to arrive. Isn't that right, Andy?
Yes. Thanks for that. Don't bring back those memories, Logan.
Like Christmas will never come.
Those are hurtful memories. Don't bring that back. Dang supply chain issues made waiting a lot more difficult this year.
It's been a rough couple of years.
Yeah.
And that made it so much better when the Game Toppers actually showed up. So if you want a problem similar to Andy's, go to their website where they have tables, mats, the dining sleeves so you can keep your game going and just hit pause and have dinner. They have so many things that will make your experience so amazing. GameToppersLLC.com.
We are your hosts of Meeple Nation. I am Andy Holliday.
I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
I'm Logan Howard.
Jump over to our website, meeplenation.com. We have links to all of our previous episodes. We have blogs that we release every week. We have 7 bloggers in total. If you're interested in finding out more about us or our 3 bloggers, you can jump over to our bios, learn a little bit more about us. We also have an email. If you have any questions or comments for us, it's meeplenation@gmail.com. And if you enjoy what we do, we actually have a Patreon page that will allow you to donate and will help us to improve the show and improve our equipment and try to make better content for all of you. If you donate, you can get Dave to say goodnight to you.
I don't know if that's a real promo, but
No,
let's let it go.
No, it is now. It is now.
Real cool, guys. Real cool. This week, we are discussing 4 games that offer some sort of miniature experience, either part of the game or something that they focus on and do particularly well. This does not include the little standees, the cardboard cutout standees.
So we're not talking about One Night Ultimate Werewolf. We're talking about miniature experiences or games with minis?
Games with minis, games with miniatures. Something that we all tend to love. One of the things that we look at, I think one of the reasons that we all love Kickstarter so much is all of the awesome minis some amazing artists out there have created, and they get to be part of these awesome games that we get and experience that way. Here we are to talk about 4 games with minis.
We're going to start off talking about our individual choice that we chose. I chose a game that I've talked about in the past, but a game that is near and dear to my heart because it is based on my all-time favorite cult classic movie, which is Big Trouble in Little China. So that is Big Trouble in Little China, the game. Game by Everything Epic. It's a 1 to 4 player game, plays in about 60 to 120 minutes, and it is chock full of miniatures. Every figure that you're going to use is a miniature. This game has probably been one of the games that has closest grabbed that theme of the movie and embraced it completely. Quest book that it goes through, it fills in a lot of the details that were in the movie, some backstories of why Margot was even trying to tell this story and why she was there, and you find more of the backstory of Eddie, find out more about Gracie Law, Egg Shen, Wang, and Jack. Fleshes out those characters as you go through those quest logs for those specific characters. For me personally, I really have embraced this game. And, I am a sucker for a property that is something I'm a fan of. However, I've purchased games in the past that were based on Big Trouble in Little China, and they were not
legendary?
It was legendary, but it was definitely not legendary. It's 1 to 5 players, and you're working together, so it's a fully cooperative game, and you're trying to fight off the forces of Lopan. The game is in 2 phases or 2 parts. Part 1, you're on the streets of Chinatown, and you're fighting some of Lopan's gang. You're going through quests for some of the players, and as you go through those quests, you're going to run into more of those gang members and have to defeat them and use your abilities to your best to be able to defeat and overcome those enemies. Can't express how much I really, really enjoy this game. It's by far one of my favorite movie property games. following Jack Burton and his friends as they uncovered the ancient diabolical plot. The evil minions and the immortal ghost sorcerer Lopan are waiting to chop down the players with axes, guns, and dark alleys, and all throughout the battle-torn streets of Chinatown. Now Jack, Wayne, Gracie, and the rest of the gang must muster up their courage, survive against the hordes of baddies, and then face off in the showdown with the darkest demon of all, Lopan. You're going to start off with 2 quests. 2 players are going to have a quest that they can follow, and if they complete either of those quest chains, then you're going to be able to begin a 3rd character's quest. The issue is you have to keep your chi in balance. So you have the Big Trouble track and you have the Audacity track. If either of those tracks meet the center, then Act 1 is complete. You're going to clear the board, flip the board over, and begin Act 2, where you have infiltrated Lopan's palace. At this point, defeat Lopan. However, if you completed the quests on the other side, that will give you a bigger advantage on the other side. If one of the 3 storms come up, so you have thunder, lightning, and rain, and if you were able to defeat them on Act 1, they're missing, right? You defeated them. They're not in Act 2. Those enemies are replaced with more of the goons, so that makes it a little bit easier to defeat that part of the quest. But on the backside, Act 2, there are 3 sections to Lopan's palace. There's the upstairs, the sewers, or the central arena where the ceremony takes place, which is where Lopan is actually located. Before you can get to that center arena, you have to complete the quest objective that's in the upper part of the palace and then the one that's in the lower part, or the sewers. Once you have enough quests completed, then the players can approach Lopan in that center arena, do their best to overcome Lopan and the remaining forces. The problem is you can't leave anybody that was there the places, because if you leave people there, they're going to come and battle you. So if you're going to go to that center arena, you have to focus so that you can go straight after Lopan and try to eliminate Lopan and survive and be victorious and defeat the forces of evil. This game just shines for me. I really like it. You've played it once, Andy?
Yeah, we played this at BGGCon. It's one of those that I saw you guys play at SaltCon like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And I just thought it looked amazing and wanted to play it. And we've never gotten it to the table until we finally played it at BGGCon.
Logan, you've liked it as well. You and I have played it almost every time we've played it. It's been together almost.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I think they put so much more work into like theming the rules, how everything works around. Even when you lose your health and you go to hell, but Chinese have a lot of hells, so like don't worry about it. How they phrase things in it is just so quintessential. Every time we play it, I think to myself, I should watch that movie. It's like playing Shadows over Camelot, and then we read the Merlin cards, and I'm like, I should watch Monty Python.
Yeah, I get that too. The only downside I really have with this game is the leveling up. The leveling up a little bit flawed, where it allows one player to...
You mean Egg?
Yeah, Egg for sure. Or even Jack Burton. I guess this depends on who's going to be the most active melee or combat person in that game. Tends to level up faster. And so when you go over to Act 2, you got one character that's at level 6, and then you might have multiple people that are still at level 3, maybe even at 2. You do have to rely on the more powerful characters being able to help the other characters, or make an effort to try to make sure that's balanced throughout Act 1, which is difficult to do. To complete the quests, players are separating, and so it's not always easy to be able to help each other out. That being really the only downside of the game. I mean, I've been the person where I've played and not got the experience, and then I've been the player sometimes that has gone all the way and just been gung-ho and maxed out my level on the other side. I don't think it ruins the game, but it's definitely frustrating, because I go back to when we were talking about Shadows of Brimstone. Andy, you were playing the Preacher, and the Preacher was just going up in those levels. I, as the Bandito, was just struggling. However, I look at it now and I see the advantage that the Bandito had, that he was able to go through equipment and gain stuff, gain those artifacts, became more powerful that way. In Shadows of Brimstone, anyways, I feel that it balanced that a little bit better, whereas in Big Trouble in Little China, it's not quite balanced like that. It takes a lot of player focus to not leave somebody behind. Being really kind of the only downside, it doesn't ruin the game, It just gives it more of a challenge and more of a frustration, and usually that person's going to go to more of those hells than the other players. You play the game, right, Dave?
No, I still haven't been able to play it.
We should let you play sometime.
It would be cool if you.
Maybe.
It's definitely on my list.
It's one of those reindeer games, Dave, that you just don't get to play. I would recommend Big Trouble in Little China. Fantastic game for me, and I would recommend it for you.
I would agree. It's a great game.
We played a game for a little while, fairly consistently, that I wish that we would get to the table more often. Folklore, the Affliction. This is a game that, Andy, you got on Kickstarter a while back. You were super excited for this one, largely because of the minis. I remember there was a great big box that was nothing but minis. What do they call it? The
Creature Crate.
The Creature Crate came with it. Amazing artwork done on these minis. Honestly, that's the thing that really spoke to us at first, and then we played the game once. The rest of the game spoke to us very much after that. Everybody chooses a character to start, and there are a lot of characters to choose from. It's very unique in how characters are used, how they advance. One of the things that I really like about it, it's different than a lot of those games that we play, where you do get to advance your character, which is one of my favorite things in any game, but it's done in a completely different way. The character you choose comes with a little fold-out booklet kind of deal. Is that a good description?
This sounded amazing.
Okay. It's got a front and a back, and it folds over in the middle. It talks a little bit about your character, and it talks about 2 paths that your character can take. And so you choose at the first which path you're going to take. The character that I'm currently playing uses telekinesis. It tells you 2 different ways in which she can use it. The way that I chose to go, the path that I chose, focuses on the typical way you would think of telekinesis, moving things around with your mind. As we go up levels, I get 2 choices every time, the bonus, the benefit that I want to take.
One thing about Folklore that I wish that there was a few more options on leveling up, just the 2 that you get. That being said, you have keywords. Each individual character has keywords. You can spend your ability points to different abilities, and there's a stack of ability cards that you can gain. But you can only gain ability cards that you meet the qualifications for. You meet the keyword qualifications for.
Sometimes they work great because Richie's character is the madman, and he got the free bite attack every round. It just worked thematically as well. So sometimes it's great.
Yeah, there's some great stuff thematically in this game. Richie's character is a great example for that, right? The madman gained a bite attack, which is awesome. But one of our favorite things about him is when he doesn't even have to deliver the killing blow, but when somebody defeats a monster that is adjacent to Richie, he can kind of have a react action where he rips off a limb and hits somebody else with it.
This is a family show. He pulls a Chewbacca.
Oh. My bad, Logan. Those ability points, we're kind of at the point in our campaign, or whatever you want to call it. A lot of us are started to look at those abilities. I still haven't gained one. I've got some ability points saved up, and I still haven't decided exactly what I want to do. Surprise, surprise.
By the time you decide, we'll be done.
By the time he decides, he'll be able to pick from everything, which will make it even worse.
I agree. Just having those 2, it is kind of limited on your choices there. And I was at first a little bit disappointed in that I didn't think it was going to be very good as far as how those characters progress. But the game makes it work. Those progressions seem meaningful. So this is a game that has a couple of different scenes, if you want to call it, types of scenes. So there's a large world map or travel map. You travel from one town to another, or following a rumor to go to some different spot on the map. Along the way, after each person's turn, you're going to flip over an event card. Whether it's day or night will determine what happens on that event card. Some of them are horrible. Some of them are not so bad. Some of them are pretty good, actually. You end up happy that you had those events. A lot of times what happens is you end up in a skirmish, which is one type of battle. You don't have a tactical map to follow. You pull out a little card of the enemy that you're facing. Usually pretty quick little battle. You walk away with some money if you win. The other type of battle scene is where you have a map, place minis on the board. You get to be tactical in the way that you go about it.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed with Folklore is on the world map there are 3 cities. When you go to a city, you can, depending on the size of the city, each city is a different size, you can visit different locations. It's similar in Shadows of Brimstone in this aspect. When you go to the cities, there are character-specific things that you can do items you can purchase that only you can purchase. And also there's the Church of the Crossroads that I think it's a great touch. One of those things to progress your character. Yes, we talked about earlier, there's only 2 choices when you level up, but you add the action points to that, you add the abilities that you can gain, you add character-specific equipment that you can gain. Probably not going to get all of it. You have to kind of pick and choose what you want and how you want to build your character. But it can really make for a unique experience, and I think it kind of sets it apart from other games that are like that. Because it is very different on how your character progresses.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it on the head when you said how it provides a different experience. With the number of characters that there are, the number of missions, infinite possibilities of how you develop your character. And that is a great touch too. So it's, you go to the town and you're going to get some equipment, or like my characters, I go and I have some special actions that are specific to my character at the gypsy encampment. I can go there, talk with the gypsies. There's a bit of luck involved. I have to roll a die and get certain things, but I can come away from there being ethereal, which has been super nice because it really makes it so that in combat, I'm a lot more resilient.
This is a game I knew Logan would really like because of the horror theme.
You know what the worst part about this game is? That the campaign is so long and the stack of cool new characters to play is so big. I get FOMO thinking about all those cool characters.
On the upside, so there are 4 different storybooks, right?
Define FOMO.
Fear of missing out. Sorry, Grandpa.
So with the expansions, it has 4 storybooks. We can start over new characters with each storyline if we want.
So the main enemy is time.
As always, the main enemy is time. That's the way it is with all games, right? We just don't have enough time to play all the games we have, or that we want to play.
Can't really continue to spend a whole lot more time on this game because we have 2 other games to talk about. However, if you haven't played Folklore, the Affliction yet, I highly, highly recommend this game. If you love RPG-style games, if you love character development games, if you love story games, this is going to be a big hit for you.
My game is actually just a whole studio. Awaken Realms. They've done classics for us. Nemesis Lockdown. They've done Aetherfields, and they've done Tainted Grail. They have a couple other games on their website. They're mini-ish. The quality of their minis that they do is beyond par amazing. No offense to Folklore. No offense to Big Trouble in Little China. I think those are great games despite their minis. These games at Awaken Realms, I think, are great games with their minis.
Yeah, to go along with your golfing analogy being on par, these are holes in one.
Yes. We mentioned it a little bit last week. The immersion, the theme that Nemesis brings you in when you have those big, epic alien minis bearing down on your character draws you into that I'm about to die feeling. Those minis are just gorgeous beyond belief. I wish I could just project out too. I could just show you some of these pictures of some of the minis from Aetherfields. By golly, the detail in these minis are fantastic.
So I have a lot of games with miniatures. Aetherfields has the best sculpts. Any game I own, I think. The artwork is unreal.
It makes me wish I had a lot more money so I can buy them painted, because the amount of detail these minis, just by themselves, if you get the sun drop in them, they look fantastic. You find copies of the ones that are painted, so much better. A game that I really want to play that I haven't played yet, which our friend Doug owns, I just need to convince him to start a campaign, is Tainted Grail. It's another epic gothic fantasy. Just looks fantastic. I know whenever that Kickstarter comes around that I need to work some overtime and set aside some money, because it's going to be an expensive one. But when it finally gets here, it's going to be amazing. I have had such a great experience with most of all Awaken Realm games that I've played. I think the main downside for me was Aetherfields, the weird dream sequence. It was cool the first time, and then I didn't need to do it again.
They've made it so that you can skip a lot of that now, so it's not quite so monotonous and repetitive. They've come out with new rules to try to mitigate the repetitiveness of it.
Which is fantastic, because the amount of effort that they put into that game, beyond the pale, because Aetherfields is all about this like weird dream. What was that movie with Leonardo that I never saw? Inception kind of has that kind of feel to it. Probably drives Dave crazy, but it's put this card at this weird shape here, and it makes a whole new picture. Supposed to interact with it like that as the board, and for them to be able to go through and do that with the entire stack of card effort, but holy crap, isn't it a cool experience when you're doing it.
Yeah, they did a really good job on the dreams. I agree with you, Logan. The way that the cards that you draw, how they interact with the board, and how they can completely change what you're looking at and what you're doing just by setting the card on the board. Dave with his OCD, it's probably not great for someone like that. The coolness probably helps get over that.
It does. As long as you guys aren't being dweebs, then it's not that big a deal.
Okay, so it's never a big deal.
I think this game probably bothered me more than it did Dave with the putting the cards down.
Really?
The big issue I had with it is because the cards needed to be put down and they needed to stay there. And it was so easy to disrupt that.
Oh, I could get that.
If we were lost in like the labyrinth or whatever, it allowed for paths to appear. Those cards were askew, that kind of messed it up. I would have liked it. Could we put a pane of glass down on there to hold it in place? That would have been great, but that would have been a giant pain to keep doing that. That was my only downside to adding cards and manipulating the board. It was so easy to disrupt that manipulation.
Yeah, I could see that.
Totally agree. But the effect was awesome.
Absolutely, 100%.
One of the games I'm looking forward to most this year, which we're going to play a lot, because otherwise I'm going to feel like I wasted a lot of money, is Nemesis Lockdown. Buckle your seats.
How much money is a lot of money, Logan?
Probably more than I should mention to myself, otherwise I'm going to get myself in trouble. If you're looking for a game with amazing minis, the sculpting, the detail they get in it is, I think, some of the best I've seen. Check out pretty much any of the Awaken Realms games.
So to finish us off, I'm going to talk about a game I've talked about a little bit previously on the podcast, and that is Sewer Pirates. I was able to break this out at Hug MeepleCon South this year, and it had been a while since we'd played it prior to that. It just reminded me how fun this game is. Sewer Pirates, it is a game for 2 to 5 players. Playtime is 30 to 60 minutes. Rated a 6.6 out of 10 on BGG, so it's a highly rated game. Weight is 2.14. It was released in 2012. The designer is Andreas Pelikan. The publishers are Fantasy Flight Games and Yellows. Deep below the world of wasteful humans lies another yet uncharted world, oblivious of the ado of the surface dwellers. Only the most courageous creatures from the world above will descend into the mysteries of the underground and board one of the legendary sewer frigates to challenge destiny and to amass immeasurable treasures. In Sewer Pirates, deep underground in a maze of doomed caverns, narrow tunnels, and piped passages, a motley cast of rodents, insects, and other vermin sail the treacherous waters of human refuse, aboard bizarre vessels in search of discarded booty. In order to claim the best haul from the abandoned flotsam, players must make careful use of the unique abilities of their crews, rats, cockroaches, weasels, and other critters. Don't settle for less than leftover fast food and dumped toys. Go for your goal to become a true legend among the Sewer Pirates. You're going to play with 4 critters, crew of 4. Base version of the game is you will draw 4 random critters and everybody's going to get one of those to play. There is actually a variant that is a bidding variant where you can bid for your critters and create your own crew, which I've never tried, but it sounds like it would be fun to do. You flip over this pirate ship and it has a little bar. You're going into the critter bar bidding to hire your crew. There's definitely some different aspects and different ways to play the game. There are 3 different difficulty levels as well. But you're going to gain your crew and you have a hand of cards. Your cards are going to match one of the 3 ships that are out on the board. And at the bow of the ship, there's going to be what's going to be available for loot, for booty, all the critters that end up on the ship. Going to be 4 tiles in each group, 3 square tiles and 1 circular tile. There are 4 locations on each ship, numbered 1 through 3, and then the captain spot, which is at the bow, labeled C. As soon as someone has put one of their critters in the captain spot, on their next turn, their action that they must do will be to set sail. As soon as that ship sets sail, the captain's going to gain the bonus token, which is the round one. The captain will also gain his choice of any of the 3 treasure tokens that are left over. Following down to the first mate, the second mate, and then the third spot, people who have critters in those locations are going to gain a treasure. If someone's in the third spot and everything's taken, then They don't get a treasure, but they do get to stay on the ship, and they move forward 1 space. As soon as all the treasure tokens are gone, the next ones, which are face up in queue, will move in front of the bow, and you replenish the spot with new treasure. The treasure ranges from all sorts of different stuff. We've got canned goods. That's where the real prize is. That's where worth the most points. But there's a catch. You have to have a can opener to get into the canned goods, and can openers are only good for one-time use. One can opens one thing of canned goods. It's worth a lot of points, but the only way to get a can opener is to get on a bonus tile, one of those bonus tiles, and so you have to be a captain to get that. Once you use it, it's gone. You have to get another one for the canned good.
Just a little caveat from what you were just saying right there is you can keep it towards the end of the game and then just choose whichever can is the most victory points.
Absolutely, yep.
But to get both cans, you need multiple can openers.
Correct. You score points at the end. So early in the game, you get a can that's worth 9 points, but then you get the 15-point one later in the game. Yeah, you can open up the 15-pointer at the end of the game and just throw the other one away if you don't have a can opener. You also have French fries. French fries are going to be worth just a number of points that's face value, but there's a bonus tile that is ketchup. And if you have ketchup, for each ketchup you have, it adds bonus points to each of the French fries. There's 2 ketchup packets. If I have both ketchup packets, I believe it gives you +3 for each French fry. If I have both of them, each French fry is going to be an additional 6 points. Pays to try to specialize in. It's where you get you can score a lot of points by doing that.
Really simple, but involved some strategery there.
And a lot of the strategy comes from the critters themselves.
So the critters and the player count, because
Absolutely.
Whatever player count Andy was last time we played at Doug's house was not the right player count to be.
That was 5 players, and it was terrible.
Everyone else, it was a great game, but for Andy, it was not.
I was in a very bad spot as far as the round was concerned. But you have a total of 6 critters that you will get a chance to play. Obviously, you only play 4 on your crew. Still, there'll be 2 that you don't get a chance to play. There's the rat. The rat, he always gets to take 2 of the regular treasure tokens. So if he is captain, he gets 1 of the bonus tokens and 2 of the 3 that are left over. If he's first mate, he gets both tokens that are left over. And then if he's further down the ship, then he just gets whatever's left, which would only be 1 or none.
This is what I don't like about this game. Didn't matter what boat I was on, Andy, you somehow always happened to get the rat and get him ahead of me and take all of the treasure. And I was left pointless on the boat there.
That's basically what happened this last time, except you were everybody else and Andy was you.
Yes.
Oh, I wish I would have witnessed that.
It was bad. You have the cockroach. So whenever you play a critter on one of the ships, you have to play cards that match that boat. You have to play cards equal to the number of spaces that you're going to be either skipping or landing on. I can put my rat on the 3, but I have to play 3 cards in order to do so. I can't, however, become captain if the ship's not already full. Unless I'm already on the board and I move forward and I'm in the first mate spot, then I can move forward and become captain. Moving forward on a ship is the same way. You spend a card matching that ship and it allows you to move forward. The cockroach, you pay 1 fewer cards. Whenever you place the cockroach on a ship or whenever you move the cockroach up 1 space, it costs you 1 fewer cards to do so. The toad, you can choose as the toad to not gain a treasure and to just stay on the ship. If you are first mate, you don't like the treasures that are available, but you really like the treasures that are available on the next and see what's coming up. You can choose to not take anything and then immediately become captain after everybody gets the treasures. The toad isn't always useful. Sometimes it's just useful just to gain the treasure, but especially if you can become captain, it's quite useful. The raccoon makes it so it's easier to block other players from putting critters on a ship. Whenever you are going to put a critter on a ship, you only pay 1 card to move up to the next empty spot. But if I put a raccoon on let's say I put a raccoon on the number 3 spot, for someone to place a critter on the number 2 spot, it's going to cost them 1 card normally, plus they have to pay me 1 card to jump over my raccoon. A good way to get cards, and it's a good way to block people from becoming captain and sneaking in front of you like Dave didn't like me doing. The snail. Now, this is one way to get around that raccoon. The snail, each time you move the snail 1 space or put a snail on the board, you pick the top card of the draw pile. And if it matches the ship you're on, you get to move another space. And this does not count as a move, so it can move over the raccoon if you pick a card and it happens to jump you up to the next space and it moves over the raccoon. Because it doesn't count as a move, you don't have to pay that extra card. Finally, the weasels. The weasel's probably my favorite. all the critters, which was used against me quite nicely. As Logan pointed out, it was really the weasel that kind of hosed me over. The way he works is whenever you use a weasel to do an action, you get to repeat another action with the same weasel. For example, if I use a weasel to become captain, I can set sail immediately. Let's say I use a weasel to go into the first mate spot, I can immediately play another card and become captain. It lets you take 2 turns with the same critter. Super beneficial. I love the fact that how all of these abilities of the different miniatures of the different critters on the board, how they can work so well together and just create cool combinations depending on the circumstance that you're in. Awesome game. It's not in print right now, but I know that there are reasonable price on eBay if it's something you're interested in, and I would highly recommend it. Even a used copy would be great to get. This has been a fun game.
If you like games that have a fun theme and do a good job with it, this game throughout really does a great job that way. You were talking about all of the different treasures that you're going to find. It's the garbage, it's the trash, it's the stuff in the sewer that is treasure to these critters. I think it's really cool that way. It does a great job.
And then there's Logan's favorite, which is you can get teddy bears and little dollies. And in order to actually get the points for these, you have to have a parrot to ransom them back to the children.
I just love the theme of that. Hey, little kid, sell you back your dolly.
But sounds like something Logan would like.
Yeah, it does. But you're right, Dave. Thematically, it's a fun theme. The theme is really well executed. The gameplay is great.
It's one I haven't played, and I would like to play at some point.
Maybe if I'm allowed to play Big Trouble, we can allow you to play Sewer Pirates.
Excellent. That has been 4 different games, all with minis.
Until next time.
We'll see you on Kickstarter, back in more mini games.
I just found another one.
Just like that.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter, @Meeple Nation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product, and they have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you're interested in any of us hosts here, the 4 of us, or our bloggers, we have...
What do you mean interested in us? That's what I'm kind of...
I see the same thing.
1-900 Meeple Nation.
Not that way.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Do 900 numbers exist anymore?
I don't know. It's all
Yeah,
on the
yes.
internet these days. Dave.
Yes, they do.
They're not as good as they used to be. If you can't see, I am touching my heart because that's where they feel that they should be in Kickstarter.
If you can't see, I'm near my mic nodding my head.
I thought you didn't have a heart, Logan.
Where it should be.
Oh.
It's like the Grinch, sometimes it grows too big, sometimes it shrinks down, Just depends on when you find me.
If you can see, that's creepy.
If you can see, you want to unsee.